Hello friends, welcome to Social Science Wala YouTube channel. Today I am going to explain you the first chapter of class 10 history, the rise of nationalism in Europe. So let's begin. The rise of nationalism in Europe इस चैप्टर में हम एक्चुअली क्या क्या पढ़ने वाले हैं। तो इस चैप्टर में सबसे पहले का जो टॉपिक है वो है द फ्रेंच रेवोल्यूशन एंड द आइडिया ऑफ नेशन, द मेकिंग ऑफ नेशनलिज्म इन यूरोप, द एज ऑफ रेवोल्यूशन 1830-1848, द मेकिंग ऑफ जर्मनी एंड इटली, visualizing the nation, nationalism and imperialism. These are the topic what we are going to discuss in this chapter. जैसे कि हम सबको मालूम है we all live in a democratic country. So let us see कि ये जो idea of democracy या फिर nationalism को जो idea है how it came into existence, what was the effect of this idea on the people of Europe and what was the dream of Europeans and then how they try to achieve nationalism in their country. ये चैप्टर स्टार्ट होता है फेडरिक सोरियो की एक पेंटिंग से। फेडरिक सोरियो जो कि एक फ्रेंच आर्टिस्ट थे, उन्होंने 1848 में ही मेड अ सीरीज ऑफ पेंटिंग, 4 प्रिंट वेयर देयर, और उसका नाम था द पैक्ट बिटवीन द नेशन। लेकिन इस पेंटिंग में जो आपके टेक्स्ट बुक में दिया गया है, इट इज शोइंग हिज ड्रीम अबाउट अ डेमोक्रेटिक एंड सोशल रिपब्लिक। इस पेंटिंग में यहाँ पे दिखाया गया है कि देयर इज अ लॉन्ग ट्रेन ऑफ पीपल मार्चिंग टुवर्ड्स द स्टैच्यू ऑफ लिबर्टी। यहाँ पे स्टैच्यू ऑफ लिबर्टी के हाथ में यू कैन सी देयर इज अ चार्टर ऑफ सिटीजन्स राइट इज देयर, okay, charter of men's right, and in another hand there is a torch. Okay, you can see a long line of people who are marching in front of the statue of liberty, and you can see in the sky also Jesus Christ along with his saints and disciples, they are also giving or showering their blessings upon these people. तो लीडिंग द प्रोसेशन को जो लीड कर रहा है वो यूएसए है, फॉलोड बाय स्विट्जरलैंड जो कि ऑलरेडी एक नेशन स्टेट थे उस समय, और उसको फॉलो कर रहे हैं फ्रांस, एंड देन बाय द पीपल ऑफ जर्मनी विद ब्लैक रेड एंड गोल्डन फ्लैग। ओके, जो कि उस समय नेशन स्टेट नहीं थे। और यहाँ पे ये जो पेंटिंग है, इस पेंटिंग में फेडरिक सोरियो एक डेमोक्रेटिक सोशल रिपब्लिक नेशंस की यहाँ पे कल्पना कर रहा है। ओके, लेकिन एक्चुअली स्टार्ट करने से पहले ये देखेंगे कि नेशन स्टेट मतलब होता क्या है। नेशन स्टेट एक ऐसी कंट्री है या फिर ऐसा रीजन है जहाँ पे एक डिफाइंड टेरिटरी रहती है, जहाँ के लोग उनकी कॉमन आइडेंटिटी होती है, जैसे कि लैंग्वेज है, कल्चर है, हिस्ट्री है, एंड दे हैव द फीलिंग ऑफ वननेस। दे ऑल्सो हैव अ सेंट्रलाइज्ड एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव सिस्टम एंड सोवरिन गवर्नमेंटल स्टेट, एंड दैट इज एक्सेप्टेड बाय द वर्ल्ड कम्युनिटी। सो नेशन स्टेट एक ऐसा एरिया, एक टेरिटरी होती है जहाँ पे एक ही कॉमन लैंग्वेज के, कल्चर के और हिस्ट्री शेयर करने वाले लोग रहते हैं, जिनके बीच में एक फीलिंग होती है, वननेस की फीलिंग होती है, और यहाँ पे एक सेंट्रलाइज एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव सिस्टम रहता है एंड सोवरिन गवर्नमेंटल स्टेट रहता है। As you know, the French Revolution was the first one that started in 1789. सबसे पहले फ्रेंच रिवॉल्यूशन शुरू हुआ 1789 में, और वो दैट वाज द फर्स्ट एक्सप्रेशन ऑफ नेशनलिज्म इन यूरोप इन 18th सेंचुरी। द फ्रेंच पीपल ऑलरेडी यू नो दैट उन्होंने मोनार्की एबोलिश कर दी थी, दे एबोलिश मोनार्की एंड दे एस्टैब्लिश्ड द डेमोक्रेसी। ओके, सो इनिशियली फ्रांस वाज अंडर द एब्सोल्यूट मोनार्की, आप सबको मालूम है, लेकिन द फ्रेंच रेवोल्यूशन led to the transfer of sovereignty from monarchy to the citizen, मतलब the power was transferred from monarchy to the citizen. उसके बाद there are certain changes took place in France in 1789. What were the changes when France shifted from monarchy to the citizen? That time, first thing is the transfer of ruling power from monarchy to the French people. The second one, they introduced the idea of la patrie, means fatherland, and the la citoyen, means the citizen, were adopted all over France. They also introduced a new tricolor French flag. The States General was elected and renamed as the National Assembly. Okay, the French became the spoken language, means everybody decided to speak French language only. Centralized administrative system with uniform laws and internal custom duties were abolished all over France. An uniform system of weight and measurement was also introduced. The new national anthem they composed and the oaths were also taken, and martyrs were commemorated. And the idea of nationalism did not limit to the France only. They also, the armies or revolutionaries, they took the idea of the French Revolution to the other part of the world. As you all know that 1799 Napoleon seized the political power in France, and he introduced a Napoleonic Code. He introduced some measures over there. That measures were also known as the Napoleonic Code of 1804. I mean, what was the code all about? In that he wanted to bring equality before the law, right to property was introduced, abolishment of all the privilege based on the birth was done. He also made simplification of administrative laws, remove all kind of restrictions on guilds in town, means trade restrictions were not there, all the trade barriers were removed, abolishment of feudal system and serfdom was done, improvement in the transportation and communication was introduced. But it became unpopular because there were certain other problems also were in this Napoleonic code. Because of that, certain community people were not happy. That was, he increased the taxes, he also imposed censorship, and he also forced to all the other people to join the French army, because he had a dream that he wanted to conquer all over Europe. However, these changes were not liked by some empires like Prussia, Russia, Austria, and Britain. So these all powers came together and collectively they defeated Napoleon in the Battle of Waterloo in 1815, and they restored the Bourbon dynasty once again in France. Now we have to understand that what was the composition of Europe before the concept of nationalism that came into Europe. मतलब nationalism का concept यूरोप में तो आया, लेकिन उसके पहले यूरोप में स्थिति कैसी थी? What was the condition of Europe during that time before the arrival of nationalism in Europe? So यहाँ पे till mid 18th century there were no nation states in Europe. अभी nation state की already मैं definition आपको बता चुका हूँ, ठीक है? तो ये जिसका मतलब एक डिफाइंड टेरिटरी रहती है, वहाँ पे कॉमन लैंग्वेज, कल्चर और हिस्ट्री शेयर करने वाले लोग रहते हैं, दे हैव अ फीलिंग ऑफ वननेस. तो ऐसा कुछ नहीं था. जर्मनी, इटली एंड स्विट्जरलैंड ऑल वर डिवाइडेड इनटू डचेस, किंगडम्स एंड कैंटन्स. अभी डचेस मींस दे वर रूल्ड बाय द ड्यूक्स. ड्यूक्स इज नथिंग बट दे वर द नोबलमैन. एंड किंगडम्स एंड कैंटन्स, कैंटन्स वर द सब डिविजन्स ऑफ दोज किंगडम. एंड ईस्टर्न यूरोप एंड सेंट्रल यूरोप देयर वेर ऑटोक्रेटिक रूलर्स. यहाँ पे एक हैब्सबर्ग एम्पायर था which was ruling over Austria Hungary. It was a patchwork of different regions and people. It included the Tyrols, Austria, Sudetenland, Bohemia, aristocracy were the German speaking people. They also included Italian speaking province, Lombardy and Venetia. It also included mass of subject peasant people. The only binding tie was the common elegance to the emperor. मतलब यहाँ पे हम देख रहे हैं कि एब्सर्ग एम्पायर के अंदर अलग अलग रीजन के अलग अलग लैंग्वेज बोलने वाले लोग हैं, उनके बीच में कुछ भी कॉमन नहीं है. ओनली वन थिंग इज कॉमन कि दे हैव द देयर इज वन कॉमन एम्परर इज देयर, ओनली दैट वन थिंग इज देयर. अभी यहाँ पे सवाल ये पैदा होता है और द क्वेश्चन अराइजेस दैट कि इतना डिफरेंसेस होने के बावजूद हाउ द फीलिंग ऑफ नेशनलिज्म केम अमंग दिस ग्रुप ऑफ पीपल or in the Habsburg Empire. So now the question arises that when there was so much of difference, how the idea of nationalism came? And for that we need to understand the social division of the society and what were the problems of the people living there. Now here we have to understand this topic in a simple manner. Basically यूरोप में दो अलग अलग कम्युनिटी के लोग थे या दो अलग अलग टाइप के लोग थे. पहले तो थे एरिस्टोक्रेटिक लोग जो कि एकदम हाईएस्ट क्लास के लोग थे. दे वर मेजरली, उनके पास बहुत बड़ी बड़ी जमीन थे. दे वर द ओनर्स ऑफ लार्ज लैंड. दे ऑफन स्पीक द फ्रेंच लैंग्वेज विच वॉज सपोज टू बी द लैंग्वेज ऑफ द रिच पीपल. But however, these people were very less in number, or we can say they were in minority, and their families often connected with matrimonial ties. Means they always used to be like one king's daughter and another king's son, like that they used to get married. Also they also maintain a unique standard of living, right? And that was the aristocratic people's lifestyle. Another side we can see there were peasants were there who were majority in the population. They were more in number. They either cultivated the land or look after the land of the aristocratic. And the third category was there which came into existence due to the industrial revolution in Europe. In the middle, they were the middle class emerged, consist of industrialists, businessmen, teachers, clerk, and doctor. These are the people who later on started demanding the parliamentary form of government in different parts of Europe. Due to the industrial revolution, a new group came up, that was educated middle class. Now what was the demand of this educated middle class? These people wanted freedom for everyone, equality before the law. Government should be made by agreement of the people or by the consent of the people. They wanted to bring an end of autocracy, no clerical privileges, formation of a constitution, and representative form of government where the elected members should rule. Okay, but here two problems were there. The problem was they have given only, they wanted the voting rights to be only with the men with property. Okay, others cannot vote. Also restrictions on state to state movement of goods were there. Okay, so there was a restriction on the movements of good. So as we saw now division of society, we saw now. So now we'll see what nationalism mean for this different section of society. Let us see liberal nationalism. Now the term liberalism derived from the Latin word liber means free. Now this new middle class in fact demanded equality for all before the law, freedom for the individuals. No, they were not against the private property, but they wanted government by the consent. Revolutionary France, right to vote and get elected exclusively to property owing men only. Means only the people who are having property can get into election or can vote, right? Men without property and all women were excluded from the political rights. So throughout the 19th and 20th century, women and non-property men organized opposition movements demanding equal political rights. Now, what is this economic liberalism? Now, it stood for freedom of market and abolition of state-imposed restrictions on the movement of goods and capital. So, in German-speaking region during Napoleon's rule, there were 39 states, each of it possessed its own currency and weight and measure, creating a lot of problem for traders who are traveling from one part of Europe to the other part of Europe. In 1834, we saw the formula. So to remove that or to eradicate that problem, in 1834 we saw there is a formation of Zollverein. It was a custom union formed in Prussia and joined by most of the German states because they wanted to create or solve the problem which these traders are facing, right? Because each state you are traveling you have to pay the taxes 5%, okay, and if you are traveling to 11 states you have to pay the taxes on the basis of 5%, means 55% tax only you have to pay, and every time the currency is also different, so it create lot of problem for other people. So when this Zollverein custom union was formed, okay, it abolished the tariff barrier and it reduced the number of currency from over 30 to only 2, and network of railway also stimulated the mobility of people, harnessing economic interest and national unification. Since railway network stimulated and movement of people started moving across the nations, so it also created lot of it boost the national unification also, because when the people traveling from one place to another, they also share their ideas. They did not only travel with the goods and other things, they also share their ideas. A new conservatism after 1815. Now, because of the emergence of conservatism, they believe in the traditional institution of state and society, and they wanted to continue with monarchy as it gave them power, more powers and privileges. Okay, although we know Napoleon has done so many changes, he removed monarchy all over and he established dictatorship. But this group of people, they wanted monarchy to come together. And after the defeat of Napoleon in the War of Waterloo in 1815, the representative of Persia, Russia, Austria, and Britain, they all met at Vienna to draw up a settlement for Europe. They wanted to make one fresh settlement for Europe. And this Congress was hosted by Duke Metternich, the Chancellor of Austria. Okay. Now, what happened here? In the Congress of Vienna 1815, this is also known as Treaty of Vienna, which was hosted by Duke Metternich, the Austrian Chancellor, recreated the map of Europe. What were the conditions of the Treaty of Vienna? The Bourbon dynasty was restored. France lost its territories annexed under Napoleon. A series of states were set up on the boundaries of France to prevent French expansion. So France should not be able to expand its territory, so they set up a series of states around it. Kingdom of the Netherlands included Belgium was set up. Okay, in the north, Persia was given an important new territory on its western frontier, that is border. Austria got control of northern Italy. German Confederation of 39 states remained untouched, and Russia was given a part of Poland, and Persia was given a part of Saxony. The main objective of this Congress of Vienna was to restore the monarchy, create a new conservative order in Europe. After getting exclusive power, okay, after the Treaty of Vienna, these conservatives were become very intolerant about any kind of criticism. Okay, they impose censorship laws to curb all kind of media activities. Okay, they curb the activity, any kind of activity that is asking the legitimacy of the executive government were taken very seriously. So one of the foremost issue taken up by the liberal nationalists was the freedom of the press. But after doing so much of restrictions or putting limitations on the people or imposing censorship laws, do you think that revolutionaries were kept quiet? No. But even after doing all these things, it could not stop the liberal nationalists, and they also started seeking freedom press. Now let us see in the next slide how these revolutionaries were planned for the right to liberty, or how they were able to fulfill their demands. Now the next part is the revolutionaries. Now, as you know, that after the Treaty 1850 when a lot of restrictions were imposed on the people. But we know that liberals did not keep quiet. Liberal nationalists, they somehow wanted to get the freedom, or they were wanted to seek the freedom of press. So the years of following 1815 was year of repression. Many liberal nationalists were underground because there was what do you call censorship was imposed on them. So what these people did, they all went underground and they started setting up secret societies in many parts of Europe to train the revolutionaries to oppose the monarchy and to fight for liberty and freedom and importance of nation state in the freedom struggle. So these people did not stop there. In spite of lot of restrictions and censorship, these people went underground and they set up various secret societies. One of the most important figure in this particular party is Giuseppe Mazzini. He was an Italian revolutionary. He born in Genoa in 1807. He was a member of secret society called as Carbonari. He was in exile in 1831 for attempting a revolution in Liguria. Okay, at the time he was just 24 years old. Okay, so he also founded Young Italy in Marseilles and Young Europe in Bern. Okay, that is the capital of Switzerland. Now he believed that God had intended the nation to be the natural unit of mankind, so Italy could not be continued as a patchwork of small states and kingdoms. So it had to be forged into a single unified republic. So his plan or his dream was there to make Italy a nation state. His opposition to monarch and his vision of democratic republic frightened the conservative. तो इससे जो कंजर्वेटिव लोग बहुत डरते थे, इसीलिए यहाँ पे मेटरनिक ने इसके बारे में कहा है, इनके बारे में कहा है कि he is the most dangerous enemy of our social order because they went into such a way, they created so many secret society. Looking into his secret society, other part of Europe also people started making the secret society. So somewhere this conservative had a fear कि ये something is it is not going to work out, it will create some problem for conservative. So Metternich said about him, he made a statement that Giuseppe Mazzini is the most dangerous enemy of their social order. So here revolutionaries tried their attempt to get the liberty. Now during the period of revolution, we will see that how the revolutionary in France, Brazil and Greece fought for their rights and got freedom for the conservative. So main three events which are going to take place now, that were in France, Brazil and Greece. So as I discussed the age of revolution between 1830 and 1848, three important revolutions took place. But before that, the idea became very popular in Europe, liberalism and nationalism, especially by the educated middle class. We told you that that class emerged after the industrial revolution in Europe. So finally, the period of hardship, hunger and shortage of food, population also increased. People started migrating from the villages to the cities and ultimately increase in the slum area. Many people did not got job. The number of job seekers were more than the available jobs. Unemployment was there, and at the same time, bad harvest led to the increase in prices. Ultimately, lot of what you call unrest was there in the country, and the followed by the period of upheaval, three important events took place. That is, one is July Revolution, which took place in 1830, then Revolution of Brazils, and the Greek War of Independence in 1821. Let us see what happened in July Revolution. So during this period, there was a great tension in between the conservative and revolutionaries. Conservative wanted to set up the monarchy. They wanted to re-establish monarchy, and revolutionaries are the one who wanted to get the freedom, or they get the liberty, or they wanted the constitutional form of government. The first incident that took place in France was in the July 1830, where the revolutionary has overthrown Bourbon dynasty and constitutional monarchy was set up under Louis Philippe at its head. So यहाँ पे मेटरनिक ने दोबारा एक चीज कही, क्या कही? What he said that when France sneezes, the rest of the Europe catches cold. Means the France influence of France will not limit up to France. It will spread definitely to the different part of Europe. That's why he made this statement. And the next important thing, the revolution of Brussels. So in the July revolution spark an uprising in Brussels, in which resulted in the separation of Belgium from the United Kingdom of Netherlands on 4 October 1830. Okay, so Belgium was a part of United Kingdom of Netherlands, but it got separated under the July Revolution that took place in the on 4 October 1830. Next important part is the Greek War of Independence. This is the third important revolution. First we saw the revolution in the France, then second in Brazil, Okay, and third is this Greek War of Independence. Here, actually, Greek was under the Ottoman Empire. It was a part of Ottoman Empire since 15th century. Now, Greek people wanted the freedom from the Ottoman Empire, so started a revolution in 1821. And Greek was not only supported by his own people, but also the Greeks were living in exile, and the West European people, poets and artists who mobilized public opinion to support its struggle against the Muslim Empire because they had some sympathy with the Greek culture. Okay, so here one important person comes, that is the English poet Lord Byron, who organized funds and also fought for the cause, but he died due to the fever in 1824. Finally, the Treaty of Constantinople of 1832 recognized Greece as an independent nation state. So here the Greek got independence in the year 1832 from the Ottoman Empire. No, see, mostly what happens whenever any territorial expansion takes place, there is always use of weapons and demonstration and other thing. But in Europe, nationalism also took place in the different form. So that different form was nothing but in the form of poets, poetry, musician, artist, and many other things. They also provoke the feeling of nationalism among the people, and that particular part is called as romanticism. So here the culture played an important role in creating the idea of nation. Art, poetry, stories, and music, it also helped to express and shape nationalist feeling. So romantic artists criticize reason and science instead of the focus on emotion, institution, and mystical feeling of the people. Here the German philosopher John Gottfried Herder popularized the true spirit of nation, Voxicist, okay, through folk songs, folk poetry, and folk dance. Even through Poland has been partitioned, but the feeling of nationalism was kept alive through music and language. Karol Karpinski, very important figure here, celebrated the national struggle through his operas and music, turning folk dance like the Polonaise and Mazurka into nationalist symbol. So here we can see different artists, poets, and other people. They use various forms of music, art, and poetry and other thing to bring the feeling of nationalism among the people of Europe. No, language. No, it's not only music and poetry and other things, but language also played an important role in developing nationalist sentiment. After Russian occupation, the Polish language was forced out of schools and Russian language was imposed. Means when Poland was under the control of Russia, that time Russian government instilled that they should remove the Polish language and they should use only Russian language in schools and churches and other people. So 1831 an armed rebellion was took place against the Russia, but it was suppressed completely. And now language was also used as a weapon of national resistance. Polish language was used for church gathering and all the religious instructions. Many priests and bishops were punished and banned also. So the use of Polish language seen as a symbol of struggle against the Russian dominance. You will be surprised to know that these priests and bishops were sent to Siberia, where they were struggling under minus 71-degree temperature. So that was the punishment was given to them just because they are using Polish language in their country. So language also became a source of inspiration. Now we'll see what was the condition of France in 1848. It was a year of hardship, like population increase, unemployment was there, a lot of industrialization took place, but because of that, many people lost their jobs due to the machineries. At the same time, there was a rise in the food prices and peasantry were overburdened with feudal dues and obligations. So 1848 saw, again we saw the food shortage plus unemployment, and due to which lot of demonstration were flooded on the streets of the Paris. Okay, all the people are demanding for the employment, and there was a increase in the prices of essential commodities. So finally, all the people march on the streets of the Paris. They even remove the barricades and all. So looking into this uncontrolled situation, Louis Philippe I, he was forced to flee from France, and at that time National Assembly proclaimed or declared republic. So and they also granted universal suffrage to all the people, right to work, and national workshop was set up to provide employment to all the public in France. Another uprising is the Silesian Uprising 1845. Here what we can see that 1855 the weavers of Silesia revolted against the contractor who used to provide the weavers with the raw material so that they can turn them into finished product. But what happened, the payment what the weavers were made were reduced to a very low amount, and that was the main reason of the revolt. So on 4 June at 2 p.m. a large crowd of weavers marched to the mansions of the contractor and demanding high wages, but they were mistreated by the contractors. So these weavers were forcefully entered into the contractors' mansions and damaged and destroyed the property of the contractors. But due to the fear of that contractor, they ran away from there, and they tried to take shelter in the neighboring village. But somehow they were refused to give the shelter. So finally, they returned after 24 hours with the army, and they called the army, and finally 11 weavers were shot dead. So this was the, although it was not a successful revolt, but it had a marked impact on the revolutionaries in Europe. Let's see what happened in Frankfurt Parliament. Seeing the unrest in the country in 1848, the liberals consist of the middle class professionals, businessmen and rich artisans gathered in the city of Frankfurt and decided to vote for an all-German National Assembly and demanded the creation of a nation state on parliamentary principles, a constitution, a freedom of press and association. So in Germany, political associations of middle class came together in the city of Frankfurt and voted for all German National Assembly. By 18 May 1848, 831 elected representatives took their place in the Frankfurt Parliament, convened in the Church of St. Paul, and drafted a constitution for a German nation and headed by a constitutional monarchy. Let's see what happened next. But what was planned here by those people was not went very well, because the crown was offered to Frederick William IV, the king of Persia, but he rejected it. And opposition of aristocracy and military also increased. Parliamentary people dominated by the middle class resisted the demands of the workers, so they also lost the support, because initially they only give voting rights to all the rich people and the property with the men. So definitely peasants' demands and other things were not taken into consideration. Finally, this assembly was forced to disband with the help of the troops. Women were completely denied the political right. Women admitted just as observers in the visitors gallery. Okay, so liberals suppressed by the conservatives. However, the old order of monarchy understood that ki completely we cannot deny. We, if you want to sustain over here, we have to give some liberty or some what we call consideration to these people. So the changes required in such a and such a revolution can only be handled tactfully by granting some concession to the liberal nationalists and the revolutionaries. So after 1848, they abolished the serfdom and bonded labor. So these two things they did so that they get the support of local peasants and other people in the areas of Habsburg dominion and in Russia. So the Habsburg rulers granted more freedom to the Hungarians in 1867, and during this time a major event that took place which led to the foundation stone of the making of Germany and Italy. Now we see the making of Germany and Italy. Now the German unification. Otto von Bismarck, who was the architect of German unification in 1871, he was the first German chancellor till 1890. So nationalist feeling were dominating the middle class Germans in 19th century. So 1848 they tried to unite the different regions of German Confederation into a nation state governed by an elected parliament. So this effort of liberals, however, suppressed by the combined forces of the monarchy military supported by a big land owners were known as Junkers. So finally the leadership of unification came into the hands of Bismarck, who took the help of Persian army and bureaucracy to unify the Germany. So they fought almost 3 wars within 7 years and with Austria, Denmark and France. And finally Persia won and completed the unification and proclaimed in January 1871 the Persian king William I as the German emperor in the ceremony which was held at Versailles. So the new state laid emphasis on modernizing currency, banking and legal and judicial system in Germany. So this is how the unification of Germany was done. Unification of Italy 1861. Giuseppe Mazzini, founder of Young Italy at Marseilles and Young Bund in Europe. Count di Cavour, Prime Minister who led to the process of unification. Giuseppe Garibaldi, who was also known as Bismarck of Italy, formed armed volunteers, and Victor Emmanuel II, who was proclaimed as the King of Italy. So here you can see the map of Italy. Now we see the process of unification of Italy. So Italy was actually also fragmented like Germany. During the middle of 19th century, Italy was divided into 7 states, out of which only Sardinia Piedmont was ruled by an Italian prince. Northern part was under the control of Austrian Habsburg Empire. Central part was under the control of Pope, and the southern region was under the control of Bourbon King of Spain. So they all spoke regional languages. 1830, Mazzini made an effort to unite Italian Republic and form secret society like Young Italy to achieve his goal. Finally, Minister Cavour, who was the chief minister, led to the movement to unify Italy. He formed a tactful alliance with the France and Sardinia Piedmont and defeated Austrian forces in the year 1859. Garibaldi also joined the huge armed forces, okay, in 1860 and marched into South Italy and the Kingdom of Two Sicilies and succeeded in driving out the Spanish ruler. Looking into the situation in the north and southern Italy, Pope surrendered and finally 1861 Victor Emmanuel was proclaimed the King of United Italy. So this was the process of unification of Italy. There is another unification, that is the unification of Britain. So till 18th century there was no British nation. Britain was an island comprised of English, Welsh, Scot and Irish ethnic group. So here as English they started growing very wealthy and gaining lot of power and importance, they started extending their influence over the other nations of island. So यहाँ पे national symbol like English language, British flag and national anthem were promoted. Unlike French Revolution in Britain, it was the result of long drawn dissatisfaction among the ethnic groups. But the Britain achieved this by parliamentary acts. So how they did this? The one important fact which comes over here, that is the Act of Union 1707. The English Parliament seized the power from monarchy in 1688. Okay, in 1707, the Act of Union formed by Scotland and England resulted in the formation of United Kingdom of Great Britain. Meant that English was able to impose its influence on Scotland. So, however, the Scottish culture and political institutions were suppressed. Okay, they were not supposed to speak their Gaelic language or wear national dress, and large number of highlanders, okay, or landowners were forcibly driven out of their homeland. Ireland also suffered the same fate and the country was divided into Catholic and Protestant. The England helped Protestant who were in minority and it resulted in the dominance of Protestant over Catholic. Here, Ultone, an Irish revolutionary, formed a group of uh, a group named United Irishmen. He revolted against the English supremacy, but later he was suppressed by an English in 1798. Finally, later Ireland was also incorporated into the United Kingdom in 1801. So finally, all the nations, Scotland, Ireland, okay, Wales, all got merged into the, Britain, and it became the United Kingdom of Great Britain. Now, after that, what happened? They introduced some changes. The British flag, the Union Jack, was adopted as a national flag. English national anthem, God Save Our Noble King, was adopted as the national anthem of the country. Older nations remained subordinate to partners in the Union, and English language was also promoted. So in this picture, you can see how this Britain they are celebrating their unification. Visualizing the nation. Now, allegory is nothing but when an abstract idea, okay, is expressed through a person or a thing. An allegory story has two meaning, one literal and one symbolic. So, nation is portrayed as always female figure, and personification, it did not stand for any particular woman in a real life. Okay, example, during the French Revolution, artists used female allegory to show liberty, equality, and fraternity. In 18th and 19th century, artists thought new idea to represent nation through personification. Personification is nothing but adding human characteristics to something non-human. So in 18th and 19th century, they use female figure to represent nation, which is also known as allegory. So female figure portrayed liberty, justice, republic, etc. So here they use different type of symbols. Okay, red cap to show liberty, broken chain, freedom. Justice, blindfolded women carrying a pair of weighing scales. Allegory of France was Marigny and Germany was Germania. Meaning of the symbols: broken chain being freedom, breastplate with the eagle, symbol of German Empire strength, crown of oak leaves, heroism, sword, readiness to fight, olive branch around the sword, willingness to make peace, and black, red and gold tricolor, flag of liberal nationalists in 1848, banned by the dukes of the German states, and ray of the rising sun, beginning of a new era. So these are the various allegories which were used by the artists during 18th and 19th century. Now, next part is nationalism and imperialism. So, by the end of the 19th century, the feeling of nationalism started changing into imperialism. So, imperialism क्या होता है? What is imperialism? The policy of expanding countries' power by military or any other means is known as imperialism. Basically, for trade purpose or to get the profit. The most serious nationalist tension in Europe that came after 1871 was the area called Balkan. So, let us see what is that Balkan issue. Let's see Balkan tension. So Balkan region of geographical and ethnic diversity, it comprises of Romania, Bulgaria, Albania, Greece, Macedonia, uh, Croatia, Bosnia, Herzegovina, Slovenia, Serbia and Montenegro. So these all were under the control of Ottoman Empire. Okay, remember this. Now you can see the map also over here. However, because of the weakening of Ottoman Empire, all these nationalists, Herzegovina, Slovenia, Bosnia, Serbia, Montenegro, these all people started declaring themselves independent. But this region of Balkan became a source of intense rivalries and jealousies. At the same time, intense rivalry between these great European power for trade and colonies as well as naval and military might also increase. And this led because of this, Russia, Germany, England and Austria-Hungary, they also jump into Balkan problem, thus flaring the entire situation in the First World War. Because Balkan was having some strategic important locations and points and all, so everybody, this other power like Russia, Germany, England also wanted to capture, took the advantage of the conflict that is taking place in Balkan region. So they also jump and ultimately that led to the First World War. So thus nationalism with imperialism led to Europe to disaster in 1914 and anti-imperial movements developed and many colonies declared themselves as independence. This is what happened after the Balkan tension. So thank you friends for watching this channel. I hope you like it. I try to cover all the topics. Okay, however, I recommend that you people should go through the textbook thoroughly and thank you for watching this video.